So last night, I ran across a YouTube channel dedicated entirely to Think and Grow Rich and The Law of Success. They were two books written by Napoleon Hill in the early 1900s. Now, they caught my attention not because I'm against personal growth, but because I've read both of these books more than once. And I want to be honest, they didn't change my life in a positive way, but what they did do was fire me up. They made me feel like I had just been handed the missing manual to success. Like if I just believed hard enough, stayed focused enough, stayed positive enough, everything would eventually work out. But then it didn't. See, there's something else I've noticed over the years. Almost every time someone deeply minced in Napoleon Hill's law of success showed up in my life, something bad followed. Broken relationships, manipulation, financial chaos, promises that never materialized. So today I want to ask the question honestly. Was Napoleon Hill right? Or was he the original self help guru who sold certainty without substance? Napoleon Hill claimed he interviewed the wealthiest, most powerful men of his time. He interviewed Andrew Carnegie, the industrialists, and the titans of industry. And from those interviews, he claimed to extract universal laws of success. Not suggestions, not principles, laws. Meaning, if you follow them, success is inevitable. And if you fail, the implication is you didn't follow them correctly. Now, that's a powerful claim, and it's incredibly seductive, especially if you're driven, ambitious, or dissatisfied with where you are, because it tells you you already have everything you need. No limits, no design constraints, no mention of timing, character, trade offs, or consequences. Just belief, desire, and persistence. Here's where things get uncomfortable because Napoleon Hill himself was never independently wealthy in the way he described. He struggled financially for much of his life. He relied on patrons, advances, and speaking fees. There were lawsuits, failed ventures, long periods of instability, and many of the interviews he claimed to have conducted were either unverifiable or disputed. Now, that doesn't automatically invalidate his ideas, but it does raise a serious question. If someone claims to have discovered the universal laws of success, yet never actually lives the life those laws promise, why should we accept them as absolute truth? Because at best, that's a warning sign, and at worst, it's misrepresentation. Here's the thing. These books feel powerful for a reason. They don't teach wisdom, they deliver certainty. They remove complexity, they remove humility, they remove limits. They remove the possibility that you might be gifted in one area and limited in another. That timing matters, markets matter, character matters, relationships matter. Instead, they give you a closed system. If you fail, your belief wasn't strong enough, and that does something subtle but very dangerous. It inflates ego while bypassing responsibility. You stop asking, is this wise? And start asking, why isn't this working yet? Over time, I noticed a pattern. People deeply committed to this way of thinking often develop confidence without self awareness, vision without accountability, and ambition without restraint. They begin to see people as their tools for their vision. Boundaries become obstacles, feedback becomes negativity, failure is always someone else's fault. That's why these environments so often produce burned relationships, financial wreckage, emotional manipulation, and spiritual bypassing. Not always intentionally, but inevitably, because the system itself lacks grounding. So let me be fair. Is there any value in Think and Grow Rich or the law of success? Yeah, there is. Focus matters, direction matters, and persistence matters. But belief does influence behavior, but belief is not wisdom. And motivation without truth doesn't build a life, it builds momentum until reality intervenes. So, what's missing is the most important part: self knowledge, limits, moral grounding, alignment with reality, responsibility for the impact you have on others. So, here's what I've learned, especially at this stage of life: success isn't unlocked by believing harder, it's built by knowing who you actually are, accepting what you are not, developing real skill, making sober decisions, and not living inside reality, not a fantasy. It's built by knowing who you actually are, accepting what you're not, developing real skill, making sober decisions, living inside reality and not fantasy. That's what those books didn't change in my life. Not because I wasn't disciplined enough, but because they were incomplete. They offered motivation without wisdom, and that's not enough. At this point in my life, I'm not looking for secrets. I'm not looking for shortcuts. I'm not looking for certainty that bypasses reality. I'm looking for truth that holds up over time. And if something promises everything but produces chaos instead, it's worth questioning. That's part of getting older and hopefully getting wiser, one day better.